Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name's Bob, I'll be your host. And I'm not in the dungeon today because it's a very nice evening outside, so I figured I'd come outside and shoot. And I am not really a big fan of the old World of Darkness. I kind of left it behind a long time ago. I used to play it almost all the time, not so much anymore. But for some reason, I've been thinking of Vampire The Masquerade a lot lately. Not the new 5th edition so much, but the older stuff, which is kind of weird because I haven't really thought of it for a long time. So I figured I'd cover Vampire The Masquerade 2nd edition in this video. This book has 276 pages and a copyright of 1992. It was published by White Wolf Games. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white. And one of the things I don't really like about the artwork is they dumped the storyline that went with the artwork that they had in the 1st edition. I kind of thought that was neat. But other than that, the artwork is very nice. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white. Each chapter begins with a full-page picture, but smaller pictures are found all throughout the book. Unlike the 1st edition, none of the art in this book tie together for a story. There are several different styles of artwork to be found in the book, all of which are fairly decent. To play this game, what you're going to need is a copy of this core rulebook and as many 10-sided dice as you can get your hands on. To make a character in this game, the first thing you'll want to do is come up with a character concept. And they got some character concepts in here that you can pick from, or you can come up with your own. Then you want to pick your nature and your demeanor. Your nature is pretty much how your character is on the inside, how he acts, how he feels. And your demeanor is how you present yourself to others. And you can have the exact same nature and demeanor, or you can have something totally different for each. And there's a list of personality archetypes in here that you can pick your nature and demeanors from. And then you write down your haven and your clan. You want to pick a clan at character creation. And there are several clans to pick from. There are the Bruja, the Gangrel, the Malkavian, the Nosferatu, the Toreador, the Tremere, the Ventrue, and it's not so much a clan, but the Catif, and they are the clanless ones. After you got your clan, you'll mark down your generation, which starting vampires in this game are 13th generation. Your generation is how many steps away you are removed from the vampire's progenitor, which is Cain, presented in this book. After you have all that, you'll want to fill out your attributes. There are 9 attributes for the characters in this game, broken up into 3 groups. You have your physical attributes, which consist of strength, dexterity, and stamina. You have your social attributes, which consist of charisma, manipulation, and appearance. Then you have your mental attributes, which consist of perception, intelligence, and wits. And each of these attributes start with 1 dot in them automatically. And they range from 1 dot to 5 dots. The dots for your attributes, each one dot tells you how many dice you're going to roll when you use that attribute for a test. And you prioritize each group of attributes. And your most important group will get 7 extra dots to split up amongst them. Your second most prioritized group will get 5 dots, and your third most prioritized group will get 3 dots to split up amongst the group. After your attributes, you have your abilities, and there are 3 groups of abilities. You have talents, which are things that come naturally to your character and you can get better at over time. You have your skills, which are things that you've trained in order to do. They get better over time, more training. And then you have your knowledge, which consists of book smarts, learned things, and they get better with more study. None of these start with any dots in them. They range from 0 to 5. And like the attributes, you prioritize each group. Your most important group will get 13 dots to split up amongst the skills listed underneath, the abilities. Your second most prioritized one will get 9 dots to split up amongst all the abilities. And your most least important category will get 5 dots to split up amongst all the abilities. After your abilities, you have backgrounds. Backgrounds are things that helps set your character out. You have stuff like finances, your haven, and they contacts, sire, and they help build your character's background, and set up things that your character can have during the game. One of these is generation, and for each dot you put in generation, you effectively lower your character's generation. A starting character can have his generation lowered all the way to 8, so that you're only 8 steps removed from Cain. Your generation provides you with benefits, such as a better blood pool and so forth. We'll get to blood pool in a moment. And a few other things. After you got your backgrounds, you want to pick out your virtues. There are 3 virtues that are used in this game. The virtues are conscience, self-control, and courage. Each of these start at 1 dot and then go as high as 5 dots. You get 7 extra dots to split up amongst the 3, and you put them any way you want. And they do various things throughout the game. After you got your virtues set, you'll want to come up with your starting humanity. Your starting humanity is equal to your conscience plus your self-control added together. And that's your starting humanity. Your humanity gives off this facade of how human you seem to be and lets you blend in better. The higher the humanity you have, the less things you can get away with doing. The lower your humanity, the more evil things you can get away with doing. So that makes sense. After that, you want to figure out your starting willpower. Your starting willpower is equal to whatever your starting courage is. Then you figure out your blood pool size, and most characters at start can have from 1 to 10 blood points in their character. So you roll a 10-sided die to figure out how many blood points you start with. And you can refill your blood points by drinking blood from others. You're a vampire. After that, you have freebie points. You get 15 freebie points, and the freebie points can be spent to raise anything, such as your attributes, your abilities, your backgrounds, your disciplines. Your disciplines are figured up through your clan, and each clan has 4 clan disciplines, and you get 3 dots to split up amongst your disciplines, and you can put them in any order that you want. It's up to you. And the disciplines are the vampire's powers, and you can raise them further at character generation with your freebie points. Everything from your disciplines to your attributes costs a different number of freebie points to raise. After you spent your freebie points, your character is created and you're ready to go after you give him a name. This book covers everything you'll need to know to play this game. There's a chapter devoted to the clans, a chapter devoted to the disciplines, the skills, the backgrounds, the attributes. There's a chapter devoted to the history of vampires. It's not very in-depth. It discusses the Camarilla, which is pretty much the ruling body of the vampires, and they make the rules and so forth. And are presented in this book as kind of both the good guys and the antagonists at the same time. And then you have the Sabbat, which only a couple of paragraphs are mentioned about them in here. For a description, they don't give you much detail, but they're mostly presented as the bad guys and antagonists. Then you have a couple of other groups that they just barely mention in here. And they go over the traditions of the vampire, which there are 6. The traditions are upheld by the Camarilla, and if you break a tradition, then the prince, which is the ruling vampire in the city, will come up with a vicious punishment for you. The traditions are the Masquerade, which is enforced to keep vampires secret. You're not allowed to expose vampires. If you do, usually you're killed. Then you have the Domain, which is your domain is your territory. You say what goes. If something bad comes out of your domain, something bad happens in your domain, you're at fault. You pay the price. Then you have the Progeny. The Progeny means that you're not really allowed to create another vampire unless you have express permission from the prince or whoever's in charge of the domain. Then you have the Accounting, which basically means anything. If you have a vampire that you've created, anything they do, you're guilty of. So therefore, you're accountable for whatever they do. After that, you have Hospitality. Hospitality means whenever you come into a new domain, you must present yourself and have permission to be there. That's pretty much what hospitality means. Then you have Destruction. Destruction means you're not allowed to kill other vampires unless ordered to by a ruling body, head of the domain, that kind of thing. If you do just go around killing other vampires, then you're probably going to die yourself. And this book has ideas for stories in it. It describes how to set the theme and tone for the game. It's got a character sheet in the very back of the book that you can photocopy and use for your game. And it has a little bit of information on some other creatures that you might run into, such as werewolves and stuff. One of the things I like the best about this book, about the second edition Vampire book and the second edition World of Darkness books in general, is they went through and they changed the way combat works. Not completely, but what they did was they made it more universal. If you go back and read the first edition books on all the World of Darkness stuff, each one of them has a slightly different take on how the combat works out. But they've streamlined it so that it's exactly the same in all their products, so that now you have a much easier time at having vampires cross over with your werewolves cross over with your changelings cross over with your vampires, and so on and so forth, which is really cool. So you got the whole World of Darkness at your fingertips now. And that's really about it for Vampire the Masquerade 2nd Edition. Which brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this game? No. Vampire the Masquerade, the old World of Darkness, is something I left behind a long time ago. This book, the second edition, is the last edition of Vampire the Masquerade I bought for a very long time. They came out with a third and fourth edition, both of which included merits and flaws in the bloodlines in the core book. This one does not. But I didn't buy either of those because I was kind of sick of Vampire the Masquerade at that point. I didn't buy another vampire book until they came out with Requiem, which admittedly I like better, and I'll get to that in another video. And I know a lot of people like Masquerade better, but I'm different, I guess. And then I did buy the Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, which I'll talk about in another video, which I like better, but I've left it behind. Would I run this game? Again, I'm going to have to say no. There are things in the rules that I don't care for in this game, and a lot of other players and people really killed me on playing this game anymore. And I'm not going to go into detail about that, but no, I wouldn't run it. Would I recommend this game? At odds with what I've said for the other two questions, yes, I would recommend this game. This game has a lot to offer you as far as story and adventure goes, and I had a lot of fun and enjoyment when I played this game. People and a few nitpicky things killed me on it. So yes, I would recommend it, and seriously, you should check it out if you get the chance. And that's all I got to say for Vampire the Masquerade 2nd edition. Thank you for joining me at a look at this book, and hopefully you'll join me next time, where I'll talk about something else. Bye.